Hey guys, this is Dooley. In this video, we will continue talking about the EventEmitter API. More specifically, we'll talk about these two functions up here, getMaxListener and setMaxListeners. What these functions allow us to do is manipulate the number of listeners we want to allow to listen to a specific event on an event emitter. Okay, so by default, Node allow us to have 10 listeners listen for a particular event. So let's go ahead and right off the bat log to the console. Actually, let's use this so we can do some interpolation. So that's the first emitter. Let's interpolate emitter. Now let's use the getMaxListeners function to tell us what's the maximum number of listeners we can have on an event. So let's print that. So this is what we're getting. By default, Node gives us 10. Alright, so we should get the same number for both emitters. So this is 2, this is 2. We should get 10 for both. Alright, so this is what we're getting. Now, as you probably know by now, that setMaxListener can be used to modify that. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do now. Let's do it for the first emitter. So emitter.setMaxListeners. You can change that to be a higher number, so 20, for example. All right, so let's go ahead and print these after. Okay, let's do that. So what we expect here is for emitter 1 we're expecting 20, and for emitter we're expecting 20, but for emitter 2 we're expecting 10, because we only change the emitter and not the other one. And you can move it down as well if you like, and you can see here we're getting 1 for the emitter. Now what this means is you only allowed one listener per event. Okay, so let's see how that affects our emitters functionality. Let's add a couple of events here to this emitter. Okay, so let's do emitter.on. Okay, let's say we've got a data event, and this data event we are listening to it, and we just want to print data event emitted. Okay, so we also want to listen for a message event, and same here, we'll just provide a function that deals with that. Okay, now will this have any effect on this right here? So let's emit these events. Okay, so emitter dot emit. Let's emit a message. Okay, so let's see what we got. All right, so we get these printed, no issues there. All right, so no issues as long as you don't surpass this number. All right, so remember what this number means is you can only have one listener per event. So if you were to decide to listen for another, add another listener to the data event. Okay, so let's see what we're gonna get here. Let's just print an object. Is there a problem? Yes. Okay, what you're gonna get here is a warning that tells you that you have surpassed the number, the limit that you've set for yourself of emitters that you can put for a particular event. So here we have two data events, two we have two listeners that are listening for a data event, and because we set that number to 1, that's a violation of the rule, so that's why we get this warning. But as you can see, we're still getting our stuff printed. All right, and there's the next thing we can talk about is a property that also has to do with the max listeners, and this property is the default max listeners, and it can be found on this EventEmitter object. So what we can do here is just set that EventEmitter that default max listeners. Okay, you can change that to be, let's say, 30, for example. Now if you did not make any change here, okay, all of the instances of emitters would be 30. Okay, and if you change it to 40, okay, all of the instances would move to 40. All right, but if at any point in this program, either before or after this call, you decide to, so let me put this below defining these emitters. Okay, so if I make a call to set max listeners anywhere in this program, either before or after this call, that particular emitter is called on will take on this value instead of that 40. So let's go ahead and prove that. So this call is after. Okay, you can see the emitter keeps the value 1, and if I put this before, that does not change the value, we'll still get 1. Alright, so this is how you can manipulate the number of listeners you're allowed to have listened to some particular event on an emitter. You can use the getMaxListeners to get the number, to know what that value is. You can use the setMaxListeners function to set that number for a particular emitter, and you can use the default max listeners property to set that for all instances in the program. But that remains true as long as you don't use the getMaxListeners, the setMaxListeners function on a particular emitter. If you did at any point in the program, whether before or after a call to change a default max listener, that's what's going to take precedence. So setMaxListeners is the one that's going to prevail. All right, so this is the video, guys. Again, my name is Dooley. Please subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more of these videos. Hit the like button if you like the videos, and if you've got questions, go ahead and ask me in the comment section of the video, and I will respond. And I guess I'll see you next time.